says. 10-year-old Irinel has just arrived here. His family used to live in the Bacula camp, and from there, they send him begging.
Cum te-ai simțit?
Urât așa.
De ce?
Cerșai de la italieni erau...
Adică?
Să râdea de tine că ești cerșător.
Irinel's 8-year-old brother, Claudiu, also goes begging.
Dar tu ai fost o dată la cerșit cu Irinel?
La cerșător, astăzi. După ce am venit de la școală.
Și ai făcut vreun bani?
Nu știu.
Tu nu știu. Păi dacă tu ai fost la cerșit și ți-a dat lumea bani, nu știi?
Îi țineam la mama.
Îți place la cerșit sau nu? De ce?
Mă ia mama câteodată.
Dar de ce te ia?
Nu știu.
If this family persists in sending their 2 sons begging, there's a strong chance that the charity will send them back onto the streets. This has happened before. Only this tough approach can break the cycle of child exploitation, common in the Romanian gypsy culture. Casa de la Caritas model of integration seems to be working, but the task facing them and other charities trying to help the gypsies is enormous. During my time in Milan, I've seen gypsy children exploited by both their own families and by organized crime. I've seen children as young as 3 begging here on the tube. It's very sad, and it's shocking that today, in Europe, with all the laws and services that are there to protect children, this exploitation can happen on such a large scale. It's time for me to leave Italy and head to Romania to trace the roots of this problem. But before my departure, as I walk through the center of Milan, I encounter one of the most heartbreaking cases I've seen since I've been on the road. This girl, who looks no older than 10, is begging as this woman watches on. I'm not sure whether she's her mother or her controller, or both. The girl is friendly with the local store owners. She's good at her job and seems to get a reasonable amount of money. All the cash she makes, she gives to the woman. They have a strange relationship. I watch as they share a tender moment. But it's not long before I see a much darker side to it. The girl goes to help a church worker for a few moments and doesn't make any money. When she returns, the woman is angry and beats her with a stick from her bag. The girl cries and is clearly afraid. Under pressure, she goes back to work. She even feeds the woman a few times with the food she's begged. I watch this girl working solidly for 10 hours, late into the night, begging in restaurants and bars where a young child has no place. She hands her last pennies over, but the woman is still not happy and hits her across the face. I've returned to Romania to try and find the origins of this exploitation within the gypsy community. Romania is home to the largest gypsy population in the world. The gypsies originally came here about 1,000 years ago from northern India and have been subjected to discrimination and violence ever since. In a village near the border with Hungary, I meet Cornel, who lives with his family in abject poverty, like most of the gypsies in Romania. This man is 38, and he has so many children that he has literally lost count of them. His story is similar to those of tens of thousands of desperately poor gypsies who have been trafficked to the West and exploited there by people from their own community. It all began with a promise made by a trafficker.
He says, come, because it's good there. Everybody's getting houses. Come, you'll get some business. Within a month, you'll get yourself a house like you've never seen.
The trafficker sorted out the passports and took Cornel and his wife, with 2 of their young children, to Milan. When they arrived there, they were put in a squat.
There were about 100 families there. From top to bottom, it was full of children.
Cornel and his family worked as beggars for 2 months in Milan. But the trafficker took everything they earned. They escaped and returned to Romania. The trafficker caught up with them, demanding the money he claimed he'd spent taking them to Italy.
7 years I paid him the debt. I paid it back. I gave him all my social benefits.
But it wasn't just Cornel that went abroad to make money. Almost all the gypsies in the village have been as well.
Păi da, bineînțeles că ceșam, pe ce să fac? Toată familia? Toată familia, da, sigur. Și copiii? Și copiii.
Aveți câte 5-6 copii, uitați.
Acolo eu făceam pe zi cel puțin 200 de euro. Pe puțin stăteam până la 2, la 3, acolo în genunchi, ceșam.
Ne pas manger, madame, s'il vous plaît, la mon petit fils, la enfants. C'est 3 enfants au gardă.
Cu banii aia am cumpărat o iapă, care a venit tot din Franța.
Ăștia toți sunt copiii mei, domnule.
Largely excluded from mainstream society, many Romanian gypsies have resorted to criminality. I've come to one of the gypsy crime strongholds, the city of Craiova. Most of those imprisoned for child enslavement as a result of the police operation in Milan come from here. This is a dangerous place.
Craiova seems suffocated by the gypsy clans who control half of the city. Although it's unacceptable in a European Romania, the authorities admit that they are helpless to face this phenomenon. The internal wars between gypsy families are carried out on the streets with guns and swords.
I'm here to meet up with a powerful leader of the gypsy underworld. The neighborhood where he lives is home to over 10,000 gypsies. Most of them belong to one clan, the Thieves.
So we're going into this room which is specially made like a museum of photos. Here are all my relatives. That's my father, one of the greatest gypsy leaders of Craiova, and he was part of the clan of the best thieves. I'm part of this family that occupies itself with stealing.
His nickname is Brilliant, and for him, stealing is a profession that has been passed on from generation to generation. Having come from a long line of thieves, Brilliant has a special insight into the history of gypsy crime.
When did the Romani gypsies from Romania start going west?
I can't remember exactly, but in any case, between 1980 and 1989, they earned quickly because, having escaped a communist country, they had the right to asylum and residency in those countries. And they came back with special cars and built outstanding houses. And they came back to use the power that they had. And they said, whoever goes to these countries gets rich.
Și acum o să mergem în cartier să vedem mai de aproape situația. Crescut pe această stradă.
I grew up on this street.
Și la vârsta de 13-14
At the age of 12 or 14, I started pickpocketing to contribute to help my grandparents because my parents and my uncles had been arrested.
Pentru că erau arestați.
When Brilliant was a child, this district was dirt poor. But at the beginning of the 90s, when the gypsies from here went to the west to steal and beg, the neighborhood started to pick up.
When they saw this possibility of making money, at a certain point they no longer wanted to go begging themselves. Because the truth is that when someone has a lot of money, they begin having character, dignity, and they're ashamed to steal and to beg. And then, in order to keep making money, and under the pretense that they want to help others, they try to persuade them to go and beg. Look there. What a house. What a courtyard. This guy's called Philip. He initiated many departures. He opened the roads, as they say, in a few countries. England, Ireland, France, Germany, Canada, Australia, America. He got to Australia, yes. And that house, and this house are all his. There's no need for him to go abroad anymore, because he makes his money as a loan shark.
In the last 20 years, the neighborhood has flourished, and nowadays, every street here has dozens of imposing villas that Brilliant says are built from the proceeds of crime abroad.
Look at this house. Now, there's a guy who stayed for a long time in Italy, probably for 15 years. He begged, he stole, he made a lot of money, and he sent it home and started lending it with interest. These two houses belong to Maruzzi in Calistrada. Calistrada is my first cousin. They sorted themselves out financially in England, and a large part of this fortune was made from stealing. In England, yes.
Many of Brilliant's neighbors have been lifted out of poverty, but he thinks that the level of criminal greed has gone too far. He advocates a return to the old days.
They stole because it was a necessity. They didn't steal to make fortunes or turn it into a business as they do nowadays. This is something that I disapprove of, and that's why I recommend that they should set a limit. They should calm down. Because the thieving, what they're doing now, is no longer a national problem. It's happening on an international scale. Now the whole of Europe, the whole of the world talk about the gypsies.
Să te băgăm la pușcărie. Să înveți meserie. La pușcărie pentru meserie.
Our children need to study, because if they carry on like this, if the new generations growing up now continue in the same way, no one will have us. Our own country won't understand us anymore. The Western countries will chase us away. And then I ask myself, and I ask you, brother gypsies, where are we going to go? Where? Where will we live?
As I leave Brilliant behind, I think about the backlash he anticipates if the thieving carries on. Over the last 20 years, I've seen the anti-gypsy feeling getting stronger, not only in Romania, but across Europe. I've also seen gypsy petty crime turn into serious crime, into international organized crime. Most gypsies in Romania still live in shacks, but there are also many who now live in palaces. My fear is that without immediate help, the Gypsy Child Thieves that I've encountered in my journey will grow up into hardened criminals, and the cycle of abuse and exploitation will spiral